Welcome back, everyone, to Chatooine. I'm your host, Star Wars Only, joined with Darth Daddy Lunga and Palpamemes. Today, we're talking about the Andor series, the entire first season. We completely missed it. I think me and Palpamemes did one episode on whenever it debuted. It had like 1 to 3 episodes that came out at once. But since then, I pretty much did not watch it. So today, we're reviewing it. Enjoy this very quiet intro that we made with the show and Andor. It's all because of copyright. It's all because of copyright.
That was the most underwhelming intro I think I've ever seen.
I know.
It's so look good though. Look
That's
fine.
it looks good.
Make it gay and make it lame.
We should do next week's episode on the South Park thing. Truly, because I haven't seen it yet, but everyone's talking about it.
That we have some budget numbers we can talk about. We can do a news one next week if you guys want. Because there's some
fucking hilarious.
Yeah, let's do South Park.
Yeah, the only thing that I find more hilarious than the episode itself is the chuds thinking that they were only going after like Lucasfilm. It's like no, they were picking up both sides. It was just one.
Yeah. I've seen a mix of both of it where I'm like, I don't think any of you guys have watched South Park before. It's honestly one of my favorite shows. But today we're going to be talking about the Andor series, which has quickly become one of my favorite Star Wars shows. I gave it a couple tries since it released in September of 2022, and first 3 episodes I was fine with. I think I watched 6 episodes and I kind of was bored with it at times, but I never fully gave it an actual watch through. And that's what I did in this past week or so. And I love this show. I mean, I love so much about this show. I think it is so good. I think it is definitely one of the best Star Wars shows that they've released. Production quality wise, I think it's the best. There's hands down nothing better shot, or the sets that they use and everything, going to real locations and everything like that. This show looked amazing. The characters were amazing. I think the way they told the story, they have 4 separate arcs that we're going to go throughout the show. I mean, I really think this series knocked it out of the park. And what's crazy is I remember when this was announced and seeing Rogue One and everything being like, oh my God, Cassian Andor is a nobody of a character. Who cares? But after seeing the show, I care now. Now I can't wait to see what comes next with season 2. And now I enjoy, I think, Cassian as a character far more than I ever would have just sticking with Rogue One. So for me, I really do like this series after a thorough watch through, and I'm kind of sad that I missed it for so long and just now got to fall in love with it. But that's my overall take on it. Lunga, how do you feel about it?
That's great.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
That's going to
How many times did I tell you this was the best fucking Star Wars show to date?
I don't know. I don't remember.
How many times?
I was at a family barbecue.
If people didn't know or didn't hear it, maybe I'll say it a little louder for those guys in the back. Andor is the best Star Wars TV show they have made to date, and that includes Ahsoka. It was fucking spectacular. And not only was it spectacular because of the whole stuff that Star Wars only complains about, how we don't get that gritty feel of Star Wars and anything, everything looks too clean, all this other shit. It has that Star Wars feel, right? Without any real Jedi stuff. Okay, so kind of the Mandalorian before they brought Ahsoka in and shit, and we had Grogu, but you know what I'm saying. So you had that feeling, but at the same time, just taking out the Star Wars shit, it is so well written. It is so well written, so well directed, and the acting. Oh my God. Stellan Skarsgård? Holy shit, Luthen? Are you fucking kidding me right now? He was fucking great. And for people who wanted to laugh at Saw Gerrera all the fucking time, no, you need to take it back. You need to take it back. And they literally took, Andor, what's so important about Andor? Because the show uses Andor as a foil, but if you realize it, it's telling a story through him. It's not about him. Because we all know he's a sacrificial lamb. And this is just showing you why he becomes a sacrificial lamb, how he becomes a sacrificial lamb, and how his story is the story of the rebellion. And that's what's the most important thing to take away from the show.
Yeah, you said it best, Lunga. Andor is the anchor for the stories around him, but he himself also has his own arc of, becoming one with the rebellion. I could go on for days. We can make as many essay videos as we want, writing down basically the brilliance of this show's writing, narratively, from the themes, the character arcs, the monologues, the overarching storyline. It goes on. Lunga, you said that this is the best Star Wars show. This is the best thing Disney Plus has produced, period. This is one of the greatest TV shows I have ever seen, and it set the boundary so high for what you can genuinely do with Star Wars. This, to me, is the most Star Wars has felt since The Force Awakens, right? But even The Force Awakens relied pretty heavily on some nostalgia and, as Star Wars only likes to call it, the member berries. This doesn't have any of that. I mean, the closest thing you get to that is Blue Milk. I mean, honestly, this is a grounded story that is structured so perfectly in a 12-episode 4-arc run. The music, the cinematography, the sets, right? They used the volume in this, and the way they used it was justified. Yeah. It's the best thing Disney Plus has produced, and it set the bar. I saw someone make a video basically saying that this show set the bar too high for Star Wars, because now anytime something else comes out and it's very hard to reach the highs of Andor. I genuinely believe this is a 10 out of 10 show. I was really thinking back on it, and it's been a minute since I've seen it. I was like, let me try and find some issues I have with it, right? Because I have issues with everything Star Wars. I can't find a single issue. I have zero complaints, zero nitpicks, no criticisms of this show. It was as perfect as Star Wars can get. And that's where I stand with it.
I like what Lunga was even saying about how it doesn't use Jedi and lightsabers and the Force and everything like that. The characters in this feel like good characters. You see their motivations throughout the entire series pretty plainly. And one of my favorite examples is the on the Aldani arc, where the commander comes in and he like has a scene with his wife and his kid, and that small scene gave just so much back, because he was like an average guy who, it's typical, family of, he tells his wife something and she's like, oh, I think he's feeling a fever, and he's like, he's gonna feel the back of my hand here in a second. Like, it's small shit like that where it's like, it's funny and it's real, and then whatever happens with those characters throughout the rest of the season or the arc that they were going through in that episode feels grounded. It feels like it actually has some, substance to it. Whereas opposed to what we see in a lot of other Star Wars shows, where a lot of these side characters get tossed to the side, and the only reason they're kind of important is because they have a couple lines of dialogue with our main characters. This show was just so well made. It seems like Palpatine was saying, like, this does set the bar so high for Star Wars that when you look at the other Star Wars series, it's like, okay, these are being made by people who don't know how to do this film stuff professionally. Tony Gilroy knew what he was doing. Tony Gilroy made a great Star Wars show that didn't focus on nostalgia, that didn't focus on member berries or anything like that. Yes, it's set in the Empire era of Star Wars, but it flows so well. It's just like the best way of making Star Wars stories, in my opinion, is always you make a good story, and then it happens to be set in the Star Wars universe, and that's exactly what this series is. And I love it. I do think it is a 10 out of 10 series. I mean, it's hard to have anything to say negative against it.
Yeah, you can take away...
and also proofs the member berry thing is like, because it was member berry, but remember I've told you all over again, member berries are fine as long as they're used correctly, because literally the entire setting, the entire everything that's happening is a member berry. It's how the Death Star is built. It's how it's. I mean, it ends with that gigantic shot.
Yeah,
right.
It's planted so geniusly that, I mean, and we can do the metaphor and the sort of, it's like poetry. Cassian gets sent to this prison, which we'll talk about later. He's building the thing that killed him, right? But that's just part of a rebellion. That's just part of the journey of the rebellion. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, remember Edit? Oh, I remember. Remember Chewbacca again? Remember? Oh, I remember. Yeah. Remember TIE Fighters? Oh, remember Jawas?
I love to remember. Well, you guys remember the first arc,
Yeah.
the like recruitment arc, episodes 1, 2, and 3. What was odd about this series is that they dropped, what was it, 3 episodes this entire arc on its debut, and you think back, I mean, there wasn't a lot of excitement for this series. And when they were releasing it, didn't they delay it by a little bit? And instead of releasing like 1 episode and two and three, they delayed it by a couple weeks and then did all three at once to like compensate for it. It was a very odd release choice. But still, this first arc, episodes 1 through 3, I don't think it's the best of the series. I think it's probably the worst, but it's still great. I think it's still pretty much perfect. And it really does start setting the ground and setting the stage for the entire series. And I really enjoy that about this arc is you kind of learn about Cassian. The only thing I really didn't like about it was when we learn about him is the backstory on Kanari and everything like that. That was the only part of this arc in this entire series that I was kind of disinterested in. But looking at these first 3 episodes, what do you guys feel when you look back at them? What do you guys think about this first arc that introduces us to the show?
This is something, and people, it's not surprising that you say that because you have to set it up, right? I mean, you could have just gone right into it, sure, but this whole show is about building tension, right? And as you go through each episode and each arc, the tension builds and builds and builds, and you have to start out with this kind of backstory, right? Where did this guy come from? Because we could have just continued Andor as he was. We knew very little about him in Rogue One, right? But this is kind of a beginning. How did he get to Rogue One? So we had to have that little bit of stuff. And sometimes it's mundane, sometimes it's not the most exciting thing, but we needed that because it shows his ties, right? It shows his mother, the adoptive mother. It shows that was a big freaking deal. It sets up his friend, which or ex, whatever you want to call her, because they were kind of back and forth.
Yeah, it turns out that they were dating in the past. That was a shocking reveal.
Yeah. Andor kind of, he gets around. I mean, it's Diego Luna. What else can you expect? Of course. But yeah, but for me, this isn't a lot of shows that I've really enjoyed. The beginning sometimes it's kind of slow, and you need that to set everything up. Like one of the people who love Lord of the Rings, let's say not the super book nerds, right? People who just like saw the movies and really enjoyed them. Fellowship is the most boring for them. Why? Because they're just walking around, and there's not much happens in Fellowship, right? Because they're setting it up. Okay, but when you look at the series as a whole, you needed that, and it leads you to greatness, and that's what I felt happened with the series. That even though that was not the most exciting thing, it filled the story, started a story that led to a great story and great conclusion at the end of the series season.
Yeah, that's Fellowship of the Ring is a good comparison I really thought of when comparing it to the first arc. Because yeah, it's of the drier sense, if you want to call it that. It's the quote unquote weakest, I believe, of the arcs, but it being the weakest arc is still great. One part that I really, really loved in it is the chain fight. The fight in that little area when he first meets Luthen and all that. Luthen's trying to recruit him. We know there's 14 troopers out there. Here's something that, here's a good analogy, or not even analogy, but reason for why this show is so special is that could have, if this was any other Disney Plus show, that would have been a standard blaster fight, right? Where it's just people shooting at each other and then, you hope the good guys win. Well, with Andor and Tony Gilroy, they added another layer of this being those chains. And I think that's such a great way to look at how detailed the show is. And so while, yes, the start of it was slow, you needed that, as Lunga said. It set the foundation for his mother, his girlfriend, and what she went through and all that. The hatred of the Empire, because the Empire is doing cultural genocide, essentially. And it set the foundation for what the show is going to be, which is a political thriller. I find it interesting that this easily is the most political and politically narrated Star Wars product we've gotten under Disney, yet it's loved by nearly everyone. Everyone talks about the sequels and how it's political and all that. I'm like, then everyone loves Andor. I'm like, no, because this is actual what political driven shows are like, or it's just stories in general. That's what it's like. This is what George Lucas did with the prequels, with the originals. And the first arc set that foundation for it.
Well, I think in the following arc, the Aldani arc, that's where you really get to see like Mon Mothma doing her political work. and it kind of changes the tone of the entire series because it goes from just focusing on Cassian Andor to now introducing us to this new crew that he has to work with on Aldhani. He has Luthen and what he's dealing with, and then you find out that Mon Mothma is working with Luthen, and the hardship that she has to go through navigating the politics and being one person in the public sphere, but then trying to fund a rebellion behind the scenes. And I think the Aldani arc is honestly one of my favorites, simply because I might even be my favorite, which is hard to say because the arcs that come after this are really good. But I love how they give each character their own kind of goal and narrative. Even with the first arc with Cyril and the what's the other captain who he works with, the kind of chubby redheaded guy. You guys remember him? Like in
Remember, I
one
don't
of
know
the
his name. Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but he's such a great character because what they do with him in the first scene is have him talk to Cyril, and he's like, "Oh, this is outrageous. Two men dead, and no one's doing anything about it." And Cyril's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, you fucking get it. Good, good." You immediately see why these characters would not only get along, but their motivations behind everything. You don't need a lot of backstory to them because these scenes do it so well, and you see that in the Aldani arc a lot with this crew that Cassian has to work with. They don't trust him. He has to be kind of fake with them and tell them, "Hey, my name is Clem, and I'm just here to help out. This is always part of the plan." And the first two episodes of this arc build up to this heist, and then the last episode I think 6, ends on such an amazing finale. The little eye thing that they see, the people of Aldani see, and everything. Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, that's the stuff that you think of when you think of the original trilogy of the sun setting on Luke Skywalker and him looking out on twin suns. I mean, it's half the reason we got the setting of Chatooine as it is because of stuff like that. You don't see that a lot in Star Wars, and this arc really showed that. And that's why I think it's probably my favorite arc because of what it was able to do over just 3 episodes. And it wasn't even the main focus of the series, yet it had such a rippling effect throughout the rest of the series that truly impacts it in a positive and meaningful way. Lunga, you.
Yeah, no. I all I said was yeah. I unmuted it.
But
No,
now it's your turn. Tell me how much you like this arc, or is it one of your favorites? Is it your favorite? I mean, do you have a favorite arc looking back at this series?
everything involving Kino Loy is my favorite.
Oh
So
yeah, the prison arc.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's what I would say is my favorite, and just about any scene involving Luthen. So that's why it's like it's hard for me to nail down an arc because the last two were so good for me. The last arc. Like I said, the first one it just set it up, so I wouldn't say it was great, but yeah, anything with Kino Loy and Luthen is just there. The political stuff, a lot of people thought that was dry. There was I did see some complaints when the political stuff and that was being held up as dry. But again, I like political intrigue, you know, and I don't understand. Like so many people love Game of Thrones, and it's like what made Game of Thrones interesting in the beginning? It was political freaking intrigue. That's what it's all about. Is all these families just trying to one up each other and kill each other, and it was literally what was going on. And in this show, it was nice to see. Now I will say one thing: your complaints of in the New Republic about how incompetent they are. You can kind of see how it started, right? Because you see the challenges Mon Mothma has dealing with everyone pre-rebellion and how scared people are and how worried they are, and her husband and the other people who are they just want to just suck off the imperial teat, and that's all that matters. You know what I mean? So you can kind of see where that stuff was born. That's a question I have for you. Does that change your idea, your thoughts of the incompetence?
No, not really, because it seeing the Empire make mistakes the way they did in this series was actually interesting because you have the perspective of this one officer. I think her name is Deidre, and she's a pretty prominent character throughout the entire series. I don't really like her as a character. I don't like the way she looks. Honestly, is probably half of it. She kind of is an odd looking person. I guess I'm being an asshole. But what was interesting about that is that
Judging a character based on her attractiveness. Great look. Great look.
Didn't mention anything about attractiveness. Just said I don't like the way she looks. I didn't like the little Jason kid in Ahsoka because I didn't like the way he looks. Sure, he'll be a beautiful young.
Not like that person. She's supposed to look cold and ghostly. Star Wars only. Yeah. That's the point. She's supposed to look dead inside.
No, that's not how this works. Okay, Adam Driver is a
I know you got a crush on Adam Driver. I get that, but
no, don't get me started, Mr. Hayden Christensen. All right, Adam Driver is a decent-looking man. He didn't need to look like he was a fucking ghoul to be portrayed as the villain. That's not an excuse for. I don't know. She just looked weird. Anywho,
whatever.
Going back to the political aspect of the incompetency of the New Republic. You see the Empire being a little incompetent, but you see the decision making that goes behind it. You have Deidre, who's actually warning them of stuff of like, no, this isn't a pattern or anything. These are rebels. I feel like this is an active thing, and so it goes back to the good writing.
Not their incompetence. Series. I'm talking about the people around Mon Mothma. That how hard it is for her to find allies and people that she can trust, because
it makes her seem more incompetent because she, actually accomplishes what she's been trying to build for so long. And the second she gets it, she doesn't believe of any other threat. They don't build a military or anything like that. They don't know how to protect themselves. I mean, the way they've written the New Republic is, I think, very poor because they already set up the new canon of no matter what they do with the New Republic, it's going to fall. So they feel like they have to write them in a very incompetent way. But Andor is having the same situation. The Empire falls in the original trilogy, yet they're not writing the Empire to be completely incompetent to show that they fall. Their incompetence is in A New Hope of, I don't believe the Death Star is going to blow up, or in Episode 2 of, we're going to be fine. We have a new Death Star and the Emperor's here, yada yada yada. We're going to turn Luke. That was actually good writing. That was enjoyable to watch and see. But Andor is proving that Ahsoka has bad writing because it's showing the incompetence in the New Republic, but you see it differently in Andor, where it's actually written very well and it's intriguing, and you see every step and thought process along the way. It's not just a throwaway line like you would have in Ahsoka. So I'm far more satisfied with how they dealt with everything in Andor compared to what they did within Ahsoka.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that. Correct me if I'm wrong. Mon Mothma, she was against a rebellion after she started seeing the attacks that were happening from the rebellion. Was this in this arc? I can't really remember.
It wasn't in the Aldhani arc. It was in, I think, like the prison arc that came right after Aldhani.
Yeah, yes,
because she said that like, people are getting like, this is too much, and she gets mad at Luke.
Bombings and like objective terrorist attacks and stuff, So she's looking at that from the neutral point of view, and she learns that the Empire's bad. We need to be on this side completely.
Because we've learned in other bits of Star Wars media and here about all the different factions, right? Because the whole point was there was a bunch of these different factions, some extreme, some not, some political, some active militarily, that all come together to form what becomes the rebellion, right? And we see this a lot, and I did like it for this fact because George's big thing was he was talking about power structures in the OT, right? And how these power structures worked, and the powerful people versus the not powerful people, and his influences, like we talked about, with the Khmer Rouge and the Vietnam War and the other stuff, and this kind of plays into it because you see that in real world, right? You see when there's a major rebellion, sometimes there's smaller factions that are all splintered and want to do different things, and they come together to form what is bigger. So I liked that juxtaposition they did. So it wasn't that she was against it. I think she was more looking, I guess, to answer your question about means, it seems like she was looking for a more political answer rather than a military one. And
she didn't realize how much force, I think, was needed to be done to get change to actually happen as well. I also like your point of those people, the rebellion being splintered and then they come into one, because we can look at that. That's exactly what the prison arc was, right? And I don't know if you guys want to move on to that one yet. That's the next arc, if I'm correct.
But by all means.
it was so genius the way they wrote it, where for one, Cassian's building the thing that's going to kill him in the end. Number two, they make the prisoners compete with each other. And so what that does is it divides them, because as long as the prisoners can't come together, they're going to stay there for the rest of their lives, right? It was only one slip of the mask that revealed the truth of what was going on in that prison. No one's ever going to be leaving. They're just going to be moved to a different pod. And I know only you'll go, but Prison Arc, easily my favorite in this series. It was just phenomenal. And I'm sure, Lunga, you have a lot to talk about Kino, and I'll let you guys go on with that.
I mean, I thought it was great. I think this is the arc that really is what mattered to the show. It seems kind of like a sidetrack in the show too, because Cassian does the Aldani heist, and then on vacation he's sleeping with a lovely lady and has like the secret stash of all this money that he got from the heist, and then he just kind of gets arrested because he's paranoid of these guys getting chased down by a sand trooper, and then that leads him into this complete side venture of learning what the Empire is doing, and the Aldani heist has a lot of impact on him, and it influences the entire galaxy and everyone in this prison, because when he gets there at the court hearing, it's not 6 months like it usually is, it's 6 years. And then during the prison arc, they all find out that because of this new act that the Empire is doing to tighten down on people and to turn the rebellion and everything and get back at them, they extend everybody's sentences and no one ends up leaving at all. That's the big reveal for the entire arc is, oh my God, we're never getting out of here. We're all going to die here. So we have to fight and get out. And then they do the whole one way out episode, and that chant one way out. I mean, that stuff is iconic. That stuff is really, really good. And I think Kino is an amazing addition. It kind of makes me sad of what they did with Snoke in the sequels, because it shows you how great of an actor Andy Serkis is. I mean, this arc is probably what everyone will say is the best arc of the entire Andor series, and I think it's the most memorable. And it's amazing how they did this in kind of just one setting of this prison and how they build the prison. And I like what Palpatine was saying of it's cool how they make you compete against each other, and there's like this quota to it and everything, and the entire time you have no idea what they're even building. Like I almost thought that was an issue with the show up until the ending credits of like, well, what the fuck was this stuff they were building? I mean, that was just kind of, I mean, it's not a big deal, but I would have liked to know what the big rush is for this stuff. And at the end, you see it being built into the Death Star and everything. I mean, that stuff is beautiful.
Oh,
Very
it's
beautiful.
powerful. I mean, it sent chills down my spine. When you see that, it just hits you. Wow. They were making these prisoners build their own death, essentially. Right.
Yeah,
and
it's a good way to tie
idea.
that stuff in. It's not remember this kind of thing. It's no, this actually has some relevancy throughout everything, and that mystery that you have throughout the entire series of what they're building, the payoff and the satisfaction that you get from it at the end is amazing.
I would also
Lunga,
say
give
that
us your thoughts.
even if they didn't show that it was the Death Star, it wouldn't change how powerful that entire arc was.
No,
but yeah, go ahead,
no.
Lunga.
So Kino Loy, masterfully played by Andy Serkis. He took a very simple archetype in Star Wars, right, and expanded it to tremendous. Because if you think of his archetype, it's a Han Solo, Lando Calrissian kind of archetype, right? That they're just in there for themselves. They're not worried about what's happening outside. All they're worried about, Lando and Han were just worried about making their money. And Kino was just worried about getting his 200 plus days, right? I just need to get out of here. I don't want no waves. 200 days, I'm out. Just don't fuck around. Don't fuck it for me. Fuck it up for me. Just do this. And anytime anything came around to threaten the stability of it, he would instantly try to quash it, right? It's rumors. It's not true. It's just stay on track. Don't worry. Because even though he's acting like he's caring about everyone else, he's only really worrying about himself, that he just wants to get out of here. And that's all that matters to him, right? But then he took it, and you saw over these episodes how much his perspective changed, and his eyes were opened about what was happening around him, right? And he gave some of the next to that Luthen speech, where Luthen gave in the underbelly of Coruscant, which was amazing fucking speech.
Two monologues in one episode, man.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Amazing.
Very powerful episode.
Yeah, and they kind of played off each other if you think about it, But Kino, he even like he foreshadowed a lot of things that was going to happen to him, and when he talked about it, and then when he realized what was happening, he was like, "Listen, he said, like, I already, play it as you will. I consider myself a dead man because he's not going to make it. He can't swim. He knows there's only one way out, and that speech is about one way out, and he knows that one way out is not a way out for him. That he cannot.
That's
get
so
out.
sad. That was like the saddest scene because naturally it leaves me wondering like, oh my God, I mean, did he at least try? Could someone help him swim away and everything? But there's that darkness around the entire episode of like, no, that he stayed. He stayed, and that's so.
And his whole thing
breaking.
turned from caring only about himself to sacrificing himself for everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I want to say real quick, I hope it was a sacrifice. There's rumors that he's in season 2.
He's not.
I really, because one of the
not.
greatest things that the prequel, one of the greatest things that George Lucas Star Wars inherited was the sense of actual tragedy, right? Order 66 is one of the most tragic things to happen in any cinema franchise ever, right? The closest thing people compare it to is Infinity War. No, that is disrespectful to compare Order 66 to Infinity War. Infinity War led to Endgame from the get-go, that it was all going to be undone. And I think tragedy in Star Wars is a very, very important aspect, and that's why I really hate when they undo it. And I hope that's not the case for Kino, because of how powerful that was and how that was the conclusion to his character. And so I really hope they don't undo that. And he did survive. He swam. He found a way out, whatever it is.
Yeah, no, but I even like how they did. I think his name is Meshi or something like that. He was the other guy who kind of escaped with Cassian, and they stayed together for maybe like an episode or two or something. But stuff like that I enjoyed because it shows you this character that you meet in the prison. He and Cassian happen to be the only two that really get out from Cassian's perspective, and yet they stick together a little bit, and they're very serious about what had happened. I mean, it's like those war movies you watch, and then they like Saving Private Ryan. You kind of build with all the characters as the movie goes on, and there is some sadness when all of them die. Each character has their own death, and you're like, damn, like I liked him. I didn't really want him to die. You have a lot of that in this series, even with the Aldani arc and those characters who died during that. Some of them you're like, man, like I kind of like that character. I'm surprised that they killed him off. And so I think that's why this series works so well, is because there's some tragedy to it. Of people do die, people are taken out, and one of the biggest ones is in the final arc, which we'll talk about, is Cassian's mom, Marva. When she passes, they do like a whole funeral for her. And
fuck the Empire.
Yeah. Didn't they release a clip of her saying that, like the unedited version?
Because they cut it out.
Did they?
Do you guys think they should have kept that?
Yeah,
I
saw
did.
it. I think they should have kept it.
Yeah, it's very funny. It's very good. Do you guys think they should have kept that in the final cut for this series?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I'm on the fence. Like I think it is a little much for Star Wars, but I think that series had a certain tone to it where that felt a little
okay. It earned it if it did it. It was this is the only time you could say fuck in Star Wars, in my opinion. I mean, there's other parts in Star Wars where comedically you could probably say it, but in terms of a serious tone, they would have at least earned it. So I'm indifferent to it. I'm fine either way.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be realistic though. We're talking about, we're seeing the small people, right? What happens to them and how they're trampled on. I mean, do we really expect it to be just washed over and not to have any kind of, everything's got to be a made up word, right? Because it's not,
Well, I mean, Star Wars is known for that. That is a part of Star Wars, is it does have its own language.
There are times where I feel like you can't take it a little too far. Like when Finn said "damn" and like
I mean, Dank Farrik wouldn't have sounded right. It just it wouldn't.
Hold on.
Well, yes, because of what we know is like our language and everything. But still, like there's some like Ahsoka, and I hate to harp on it continuously, but like when they keep saying like space whales and stuff like that, that's the stuff where it's like, okay, it's losing a bit of the immersion that we have always try to use with Star Wars. And whales is a term that we use and stuff like that in Star Wars where they make it a little too personal to Earth. That's when I think it's overstepping in some places. But I'm fine with them not. I'm fine with them not saying. The biggest problem with the
show is something that didn't even happen.
Yeah, exactly, and that's proof to how great it was. And I think this last arc was.
Who's to say this little planet had a word similar to us? I mean, I think it's less realistic that the entire galaxy uses the same nomenclature when we can't use the same nomenclature like within the United States. okay, that each planet wouldn't have its own kind of, slang or
What about the
swear
bricks,
words.
Lunga? Do you think the bricks were its own?
The bricks. I mean, this sort of again, fuck could have happened in that one instance, right? I think it would have been okay.
Yeah, but overall, it doesn't really have an impact on the entire final arc, and it really is only 2 episodes. But these last 2 episodes are really impactful. I think. I mean, I really do enjoy what they do on Ferrix and the people rising up against the Empire there, and how this planet they make it feel like a small little community, and everyone knows each other, and everyone's been there for generations. And what they do with that entire town and Ferrix and the way it looks, it has a lot of that's the stuff I've always said about Star Wars that I like, of like this immersion into it. And what's great about this final 2 episodes is that it immerses you into the entire story, because everything that has happened has tied into this at some point. Everything that happened in the first arc with him meeting Luthen, everything that happened with Aldani and him meeting Vel and her girlfriend Cinta, and they come back, and then the prison arc and everything, and what that has an impact on him throughout this arc as well. I mean, it's perfect how they write this series and tie everything in together at the very end. And then you have the big reveal with Luthen and the guy who works for the ISB in that speech that Luthen gives. And even the other guy being like, I don't want to do this. I have a daughter now. And Luthen's like, yeah, I get it. You're a hero, but I can't afford to lose you. So we're in this together. And I'm definitely not going to see the good side of this, but this is what I have to do. Like, these 2 episodes were really, really great. What was that one?
I still believe, and I'm not, there's a lot of those, theories out there. I wrote an article on this too. I still believe that Luthen is Rael Alvarez. I'm still, until they tell me otherwise, I'm going to die on that hill.
Wait, what'd you say? You believe he's what?
Rael Averos. He was a Jedi. You don't know who Rael Averos is?
No.
Oh, you got to read my article.
Oh, I'm probably gonna get lit up in the chat for that. But yeah, no, I have no idea.
Fake fan, fake fan. Yeah.
I mean,
Fake
how many
fan.
know who that is? Who
If
is
you
that?
follow the prequels, you would know. But,
Oh, sorry.
Okay, come on. Well, it's your favorite author, Claudia Gray. Okay.
Oh, get the fuck! I'm good.
and-
I am good. Get the fuck out of here.
But yeah, he was in Master and Apprentice and Kevin Scott's Dooku Jedi Lost.
I read Jedi Lost. I haven't read Master and Apprentice.
But Jedi Lost, you only see him for like that much. Master and Apprentice is where his whole, and if you look at Luthen and the girl, I forgot the girl that's with him that works in the shop, and Rael Averos was protectorate for this princess on his planet, where he was kind of like a regent on it, and he was slipping away from his Jedi roots. If you read Master and Apprentice, you'll know. But if you read my article, you'll get.
Well, what did you think about the final 2 episodes in the series?
Summed it up great, right? I think it closed it out tremendously, and it left us like, we know what's happening, right? We know, just like Rogue One, we know what's we know what's going to happen, But even though we know what's going to happen, they kind of like, we were kind of like fast forwarded through all of that in our lives, right? Like, oh well, a bunch of stuff happened, but it led to this, and there's so much little things that occurred to lead to the tremendous victory that was Battle of Yavin, right? There was a lot that happened to lead there, and they're showing us how much it was, and not only how much it was, but how many of those small sacrifices of people that really knew nothing of the rebellion, knew nothing what the rebellion would become. They were just fighting for themselves, right? They didn't know that they were that there was going to be any kind of legitimate push to overthrow the empire. It was just like, can I just make my life a little bit better? That's all it was. And all those little things, it was just that little, death by 1,000 cuts, right? That just led up to what eventually happened to this giant snowball that started rolling downhill. And it left, even though we know what's going to happen, left us with saying, oh, I can't, I need to see another season. I need to see another season. I need to see where we're going.
Yeah, not to bring in The Last Jedi, but this is the whole "We are the spark." That
Way to
will light
ruin
the
it.
fire that will
Oh
burn the empire.
God!
No,
You just had to pull that line.
I know. I wish.
Listen,
Goldman
we
was
don't
with
have
us.
Goldman for a little while. I thought we were safe.
I
Okay.
missed him so much. I just had to take on some of that
You-
persona.
you-
You know, I
You
just
could have did a Rise of Skywalker, reference, but no, you had to go to The Last Jedi.
I can do a Rise of Skywalker reference, but I'm not going to because it's going to open up a can of worms I don't want to open up. Anyways, final arc, phenomenal. Summed it up great. The biggest questions we'll talk to is where does this go? Honestly, I have no hopes or expectations on where it's going to go, but I trust it'll be great. The arc was kind of sad. It was melancholy. Like, this is the start of people rising up, but it just felt so cold, and so it ended in a weird note where it's like, yeah, we succeeded, but things are so bad that it's hard to feel good about the ending. It's like it's hard to feel good about yourself. It's like, no, shit's real. Like, this is bad. It's only going to get worse, and we know it's only going to get worse. Yet it was written so well that we were still so satisfied with it. I mean, it was great, and B2 Emo was phenomenal. One of the best droids in Star Wars.
Oh, that's his name, B2. I know it was like
B2,
B throughout the entire season,
Yeah,
but like I
yeah.
didn't know it was B2. He was great. I mean, it's so crazy how all these like small little characters kind of add up perfectly. I mean, there's one character at the end who tries to get money from Cassian, and at the end he dies trying to like rat Cassian out, and even that's like a small little arc. Oh, it's a very small character.
Can we talk about how the droids throughout all of Star Wars have shown the emotion of the story all the time? Sorry, K2SO in Rogue One was fucking spectacular. We know R2D2's importance throughout the entirety of everything, let alone just the original trilogy. Okay, and we see so much. And even though I know people had an issue with L, what was her L from
L3?
Solo? L3.
I think
Everyone
so.
thought, oh, she was a feminist nightmare. No, I loved L3. I thought L3 was great, and it was perfect because it was tongue in cheek humor because she didn't really seem to care.
That it was making fun of people
Right.
like that. The whole point was
It was
Donald Glover's like, can you please shut up for a
yeah,
second?
exactly.
That's not forced agenda or anything. That's literally
Right. mocking
that kind of thing. I mean,
because she didn't even take the whole droid rebellion seriously, right? It's like, okay, yeah, here, go ahead, go, and then it became a thing, right? Because everything about her was just sarcasm. That's what it was. It was just sarcasm and it worked. And the droids gave us so much emotions. And this droid, it was like a lost little puppy. I felt so bad for this droid.
Yeah.
And it was like R2D2, right? It was just chirps and shit. And just the way it moved its head and its eyes hiding, you felt so bad for this droid the entire time. I wanted to hug it.
Especially when Marva died, and he's like,
Yes.
I want Marva, and you're like, fuck.
Mhm.
It's so sad. It's so sad.
Yeah.
We didn't really have that with the prequels, where we like followed the droids and everything like that. We had that a lot with the original trilogy.
Well, we had a naked 3PO. I mean, we did have that. Yeah.
Oh, I remember. I remember 3PO. Oh man.
How are we going to bring 3PO in here? Oh, no, we'll make Anakin build him. Yeah, that'll work out.
That's when he says "Sank the Maker." You remember the Maker? Yeah. Well, Anakin.
That's great.
It's gonna be great.
That's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great.
That's gonna be.
And it fucking wasn't. It fucking wasn't. You know what was great though, but doesn't really get a lot of love these days? Rogue One. This is, of course, a prequel to Rogue One, the Andor series. But now that it's been out, and we know we're going to get to season 2, and the season 2 is going to be the last thing that they do with the Andor, and it leads directly into Rogue One. But after seeing the Andor series, how do you guys feel about Rogue One now? Does this change your perspective at all? Does it make you not like it as much? Because I feel like looking back on it, I'm like, okay, well, now we see what Tony Gilroy can really do if he starts a project and doesn't start to finish with Andor, as opposed to just trying to fix things at the end of Rogue One. Now looking back, how do you guys feel about Rogue One?
I'm the weird one because people are going to hate on me for this, but Rogue One is the best Disney Star Wars movie that they made. I'm going to die. Okay, listen, you love The Rise of Skywalker, so shut up! Shut up!
I didn't say a single
I saw
word.
your face. I saw your face.
I was
That
thinking,
eyebrow went
I was
up.
thinking
Like,
about
really?
it, right?
I was doing the similar action. I would argue that Force Awakens I do enjoy a little bit more than Rogue One.
It
But
was
I do see the appeal of Rogue One.
yeah, because you remember that's why you enjoyed it. But
and I loved
Rogue
to
One,
remember.
He
Rogue
loved
One,
Rey.
just like Andor, was very well written. There was a lot of emotion in it, and it was very well written. And I know people have issues with some of the actors that they were like Jenner. So who was the? I keep forgetting her name. The actress who played Jenner.
Felicity Jones.
Felicity Jones.
Felicity Jones. I liked Felicity Jones. I liked her acting. I loved fucking Saw Gerrera. I'm sorry. I thought that was great. The pilot, I thought he was fucking wonderful. And how he died too. I'm like, oh my god. I loved fucking the whole oh my god, why am I forgetting his name now?
Exactly. Forgetting their names.
No. I'm forgetting the actor, and I love the fucking actor. The martial artist.
Donnie
Yen.
or whatever.
Donnie Yen.
Yeah.
Donnie Yen. Yes. I love Donnie Yen. I just forgot his fucking But yeah, no, I loved all the characters in this, and they brought them all to life. And we had another Skarsgård, right, who played Jen's dad, and he was good in it. It was a lot of emotion, and I really liked Krennic as a villain. I did.
Yeah,
The Vader thing might have been a little over the board with the Vader thing in the middle with him, but I liked it. As far as Disney movies go, I thought it was the most well written and overall well acted of all the Disney. So this only makes it even better.
I know I gave you a dirty look, but I will say I fully understand where you're coming from with that. Rogue One is fine to me. I do think it's overrated. Not necessarily when you compare it to the other Disney Star Wars projects, but people act like it's a cinematic masterpiece. I'm like, okay, it's a little too far. It's fine. It's a fine movie, and it served a good purpose for what the story needed to tell.
Well, I did say of the Disney.
I know. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the general fan base where people are like, Rogue One is an underrated masterpiece. And guys, it's a beautiful looking movie. It's got great action. The characters are fine. The story is fine. Okay. I don't want to say Andor changed my perspective or how much I like Rogue One. I've always liked Rogue One as a Star Wars movie. I feel like Andor is... It's not like Andor is so disconnected from Rogue One, but at the same time, it kind of is, at least for season 1. And I think season 2 is obviously... We've heard that K2SO is going to be in season 2 and all that. That to me is just a sign that it's going to be a lot closer to Rogue One. We heard that there's going to be a lot of time jumps that's going to lead to 5 years before Rogue One or 2 years before Rogue One, something very, very close. So I think because Andor was so far out from the story of Rogue One, I don't think it really changed it at all, other than my care for Cassian Andor as a character and his eventual death. So
yeah, I think it's going to show the consistency of Diego Luna and his acting. And I feel like he really got to shine a lot more naturally in this series because it is about his character. But it seems like out of all the characters that they could have picked from Rogue One, this was the perfect one to focus on for a series. And truth be told, I mean, Rogue One was a very unique film because after 2015, The Force Awakens was a hit. And the next one that was coming out was Rogue One. And that had to do just the right amount of things to keep that fixation on Star Wars by pop culture and the enjoyment of Star Wars and the excitement for what comes next in the Skywalker saga with Episode 8. Rogue One did its job. It was fun. It delivered. It made people keep talking about Star Wars. It hit the $1 billion box office number, and then it continued the momentum into The Last Jedi. Now, The Last Jedi fucked everything up for everybody else, but, at least Rogue One did its job. But what's crazy now, looking back at Rogue One, is that it spawns this little spin-off series called Andor that you guys and myself are pretty much saying that this is the best Disney product that we have. So I'll ask you this, is Rogue One better than Andor, or is Andor better than Rogue One? Because it feels clear to me that Andor is better than Rogue One, but these are both considered the best Star Wars projects.
Yeah, no, Andor is miles. I mean, just planets ahead of Rogue One in terms of writing, cinematography. Well, not even cinematography, because Rogue One's a beautiful looking movie, and I thought the music for Rogue One was great also. But no, Andor clears. I mean, on almost every account.
Lungo, what do you think? Is Rogue One better than Andor?
Well, I hate when we make these comparisons. Why are we comparing a movie to a series?
Because they
They're
tie
two
in
complete-
together, and they're Disney Star Wars. It's new stuff.
No. That's like
We-
saying,
we have-
is
we have
Mandalorian better than Return of the Jedi? Get out! No, it
Okay,
doesn't.
but we
You
have
can't
constantly talked about if Mandalorian is better than the sequel trilogy, and everyone makes that assumption.
And every time, first of all, no, we haven't really made that comparison. But every time we make any similar comparisons, I say the same thing. You can't compare a movie to a TV series. They're two completely different things. So you can't say is one better than the other. It's like saying is an orange better than a steak? Well, a steak is the king of meats, but the orange is great with fruits. Doesn't comparing the two doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it does.
Even though they're on the same plate,
like a steak.
If you don't like steak, okay. But if it's on your plate and it's all part of one dinner, which this is the Star Wars universe, right? I'm not going to say this steak was better than that orange. It doesn't work that way.
But the steak is more important, which I think Andor's in terms of objective writing. You can take any episode from Andor and compare it to the whole movie of Rogue One. And we're not saying. I get where Goldie's coming from.
Well, it's hard for me because you have much more time in storytelling.
Yeah, but
okay. Where a movie you're telling a concise story, right? And it's boom, boom, boom. Okay. You don't have a lot of time for a lot of character development for multiple characters in a movie, especially a one movie, right? It's not a trilogy.
Right, I get that.
So
I just feel like
it's a real hard comparison to make.
What do you like more? Fine. What do you like more?
You see, and it's the weird thing because I said I watch movies, but I don't rewatch series, and it's not because one's better than the other. But but
just say Andor. Just say Andor and be done with it. Because the answer is Andor.
Here's the thing, though. I could watch Rogue One and watch it at the end and be satisfied, right? But Andor, I need another season.
Yeah, I can watch Ahsoka, and I was satisfied with Ahsoka, but Ahsoka has plenty of flaws.
No, I need another season. I need the next season. I need to know what happens next.
I can understand that. But like when I look at Rogue One and Andor, it's kind of like the prequel things, where Rogue One I don't think will be as fondly remembered if only that came out. Now that Andor is out, I think Rogue One is going to be elevated as time goes on. Whereas if Andor had came out and Rogue One never came out, Andor would be fine because of how good that series is, even on its own and by itself.
I don't know if I agree with that. Rogue One's been looked up to as a underrated masterpiece by so many people. I've talked to so many people just in general, in real life, people who come into my gym, they're wearing a Star Wars shirt. They're all like, Rogue One's the best. I mean, I don't think Rogue One needed Andor to make Rogue One better. Essentially, it's stop
very quoting Twitter though. That is mostly Twitter.
I'm talking in real life. In real life, I've talked to so many
gym jockeys that go to your fucking gym.
Oh, they see Darth Vader slaughter fucking people, and they're like, "Yep, this is Star Wars." All right,
but that's what I'm saying. It's like
it is a very poor sample group that you're sampling.
It's the sample group I have, and the sample group I talk with.
Sure.
I mean, sure,
but you have to take what it is into consideration.
We do have like a good sample group with Rogue One because it did hit $1 billion at the box office. So clearly it did something right. I mean, and
the hype was still carried to The Last Jedi. People were like, 2 for 2 from Disney?
Exactly.
All right, we're on a good roll.
I think that's why Andor worked in the way that it did. But I think looking back on it, that's why people are starting to say it's not. If people are having to say about any movie or project ever that it's an underrated masterpiece, it is not an underrated masterpiece. It is properly rated, and you're just the vocal minority who happen to like the movie, which is good for you. It's okay to like bad things, and I'm not saying Rogue One's bad, but it's not as good as a lot of the other Star Wars films that have come out. Better than most because some of these Star Wars films have been truly crap sometimes, truth be told. But still, Rogue One is not better than like the original trilogy or even like Revenge of the Sith or anything like that. But overall, it's a solid movie. It did its job in 2016. I just feel like as time has gone on, people kind of look back on it and go, it was fun, but it doesn't really have a lot of substance to it. I think Andor is adding that substance, and I think that's why this series is so great and good. And I think that it is going to help, and it's going to help the movie Rogue One kind of like the Clone Wars helped the prequels in a vastly different way because the prequels were 3 movies and the Clone Wars went on for 7 seasons. This is 1 movie being added on with 2 seasons of a spin-off show that are going to be 12 episodes a season. I feel like Andor is doing its job to kind of make this little corner of this Star Wars universe and canon that we have with Rogue One a lot more interesting and better. And I think that's very rare for some of these Star Wars shows nowadays. I think it's doing better to add on to Rogue One than Kenobi is doing to add on to the prequels and the original trilogy.
Yeah, again, I still think it's so distant from Rogue One. There's no, other than it being Cassian Andor, what are the connections to Rogue One? I'm being genuine here. Like, what's that connective tissue that makes Rogue One better? Because Cassian Andor has development now. I
Well,
mean,
it shows development of the whole rebellion, though, because it doesn't just focus on
yeah,
Cassian
but
Andor. It focuses
yes,
on the
true.
ISB. It focuses on Luthen. It focuses on normal people being
But
affected by the Empire, like the people on Ferrix or these prisoners and everything like that. And
no,
and that ties into the end with the Death Star being built.
Right,
This
but
adds a
let's be
lot
fair.
of.
Let's be fair. Rogue One took its entire premise off of one scene in the original trilogy. Okay, them having the Death Star plan and how they got it. So they took this one little tidbit of information and made an entire story. Okay, so it hyper focused on that. So it's what I'm saying. It's kind of weird. Saying, did it make Rogue One better? It made Andor better, right? Maybe made Cassian better, but it can't really have that kind of impact retroactively on the movie because the movie is focusing around this one particular event, okay, and how it came together. And the things we're seeing in Andor have nothing to do with the Ursos, unless we see, because they are building the Death Star, so maybe we might see Urso and Krennic.
Yeah, maybe.
What's going on there in season 2. They're supposed to, like you said, they've said that the end of the season is going to lead directly into Rogue One. So we might see that a little bit more. But so maybe after season 2, we could revisit that question. But it's a very specific point in time that the movie is. So if anything, it helps the character of Cassian, which, like we said at the very beginning, no one seemed to really care about Andor that much.
Mhm.
I will say, I wouldn't say that this movie is making Rogue One better. This show is making Rogue One better or not. This show is just making the original trilogy era of Star Wars better in nearly every aspect, right? That's how I would personally look at it. Instead of it just being, it's making Rogue One better or not. No, it's just making that original era so much better on so many ways and with so many layers and levels to it.
Yeah, I can completely agree with that and get behind that. Before we kind of close out the show, we got two more things to get to. I do want to mention too. I think we hit 500 followers or subscribers, whatever you want to call
Are
them.
we there yet? Let's see.
I
Let's
think
see
we've
where
hit
we're
it.
at.
If you guys are watching on my channel, the Star Wars Only channel, please hit the subscribe button on Chatooine. I think we just hit 500 and we're past 500 at this point. So thank you guys very much for
We're at
supporting
500.
the
Yep.
channel.
Thanks,
Let's
guys.
go. All right, that's great. So next topic we're going to get into is season 2 of Cassian Andor. What are your guys' expectations for this going in? Because, like we just said, we're going to end it with leading into Rogue One. Who are the characters that you want to see come back into this second season? What are your expectations for it? I mean, I feel like Andor season 1 set the bar so high. I don't feel like season 2 is going to be a disappointment, but I kind of feel like the consistency with the writing in season 1 gives me a lot of confidence that season 2 is just going to be kind of a natural flow continuation. And the addition of like K2SO is going to start making it feel a little bit more like Rogue One in terms of that blockbuster esque feel of watching Star Wars. I think K2 being added into this and having Cassian have more of a routine with a character like Luthen is going to add a lot of different layers to season 2 and be probably a little bit more simple than what we saw in season 1. Love
Was there a question there? It felt like a statement.
Yeah,
for
yeah. I
season
was
2.
just talking about season 2.
Just talking about season 2.
Yeah.
So, but was there a question you're asking me, or you just want my thoughts of season?
Well, I said like, what are the characters that you guys want to see come back?
Oh, the characters. Yeah. Okay. The characters, obviously, fucking Luthen. I need to know more about Luthen. Okay, I need some background. I need to see where he's going because as much as I love Kino Loy, because I thought that was a lot of heart with him, and it really, to me, encapsulated the rebellion, right? And that's why he was so important. But Luthen, holy shit, the sacrifice he's made. How did he get here? What's his background? The dual roles he's playing, doing what Mon Mothma can't do, right? Making the sacrifices that she can't do or won't do. You know what I mean? Knowing you got to break some eggs, knowing that he's like, you see that person that by any means necessary, like, we have to do this, like the Billy Butcher character, from The Boys. You know, it's like, this is all that matters. We got to. So he does have that mentality, but you can tell that it's killing him, right? He does not want people to suffer, but he understands that the only way the rest of the galaxy is going to realize what's happening is if they see what the Empire is doing to people, not just hear about it, and that people have to die. And it's not that they weren't dying, because they were. It was just very clandestine, right? The Empire hid it. You didn't really see it as much, and you didn't know about it as much. But he has to bring it up to the full sight, and sometimes he has to manufacture it. But he's not like causing them to die. He's just letting the Empire do what it does and be brought out in the open. And I need more Luthen. I need more Luthen more than anyone. I want to see Mon Mothma, but I'm starting to because I don't see much of a difference between Mon Mothma here and Mon Mothma in the original trilogy. See what I'm saying? So I don't think there's really much more growth for her as a character.
I'd be fine with them leaving Mon Mothma behind in season 2 and just having her being season 1. I'm kind of
we still need her. We got
arc.
her. We got her whole. What is it, her sister? It's her sister, right? Yeah, we got her sister.
Her sister's Vel. Yeah,
yeah, very interesting character with her as well. So yeah, there's a lot I want to see, but Luthen is top of the list, and I need some kind of backstory, something kind of flashback, something of how he got here.
I feel like I need to see him die because he's not in Rogue One, is he?
Well, he doesn't have to be in Rogue. He doesn't have to be dead to not be in Rogue One.
Well, but he's going to have to die. I mean, his whole speech of him,
someone had to send him there. Someone had to send Cassian at the very opening of the movie, and it was probably Luthen that sent him.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good point. Yeah,
I just feel like his speech of him saying, like, I know I'm fighting for a sunrise that I'll never see. I kind of like that.
My life to make a sunrise I know I'll never see. Dude,
that's so beautiful and deep and dark.
I love that. He has but that could just mean he dies before the Battle of Yavin, right?
That's true.
That doesn't necessarily mean, you know. I mean, not even the Battle of Yavin, because it's not over. It doesn't end until Return of the Jedi. It doesn't end until the Battle of Endor. You know, technically, he doesn't end until the Battle.
Well, his life,
but
it's really not there until the end of Episode 9. When they meet the final
somehow Luthen returned.
Oh my god!
Luthen was probably integral. Yeah.
Go. What do you think about a season 2? Who do you want to see come back?
Okay, let me spin this. Well, okay, I'll first start. Yeah, so Cassian Andor, Luthen.
I don't know if he'll be in that.
I do want to see Mothma. I like her. She's cool. Let me tell you who I don't want to see, because I've seen this be brought up. I want to fucking see Palpatine, and I don't want to see fucking Darth Vader. Okay, I'm so sick and tired. One of this critique I saw a specific YouTuber make, stupid as fuck, is that we keep hearing about Palpatine. Why aren't we seeing him? The whole point is that you're hearing about him and feeling the weight of Palpatine without even seeing him. Right? Without even seeing Vader or the higher end of the Empire, right? This is a grounded story, right? Of these little guys, right? The little guys versus the big guys. So I don't want to see Palpatine. I don't want to see Vader. I don't want to see Tarkin. I don't want to see any of them. We don't need that. I could be wrong, because we know with season 2, there's going to be like, what did they say? 4 time jumps throughout the season, something like that.
We're going to see Krennic. I think we're going to see Krennic.
I think Krennic would be a great one to show, honestly, with the Death Star being built and everything. Like
Galen Earth,
even Palpatine, I wouldn't be so against, because I think if you do Palpatine right, and I'm saying that because of Tony Gilroy.
Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. But they want to tie things in those books that you and me love so much. Thrawn not. He did meet Krennic's assistant director, and he didn't meet with Krennic. Could we see a Thrawn?
Is Thrawn still around by this time?
Yeah.
When does
When
Rebels
does-
take? Rebels is before A New Hope. No.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. It could be really, really close because Ezra leaves
You could
literally
play around
like
with it.
right. Doesn't the Battle of Lothal happen like right before the Battle of Yavin?
I don't know. Hang on, let me see.
I'd
if
have
I
to look at the
can Google
timeline, but I think it's a really, really, really close.
So in that case, yeah, they
Lothal.
could do that.
Between 19 BBY and 18 BBY.
Yeah. So
That was the Battle of
Yeah.
Lothal?
That's what it says. Battle of Lothal, 19 BBY, 18 BBY.
19 years before the Battle of Yavin? It was that long? I thought Rebels ended right before A New
That's
Hope.
just what
I thought
Wikipedia
that's
is telling me.
again, this is when we need Goldman because I am the casual Rebels fan.
Well, Reddit is saying that it happened in 0 BBY, around a few months before Battle of Scarif, as we see in Rogue One.
Battle.
No,
What where are you getting that from? Taking place from 2 BBY to 1 BBY. That's
I
Wikipedia.
can
What are
share
you
my
looking
screen
at?
that says Wikipedia Battle of Lothal between 19 BBY
That's
and
where I was
18
gonna say, like,
BBY.
the Battle of Coruscant or something. It's gonna be-
I will fucking screen share this bitch.
okay.
Look
Well,
at
you picked the wrong one. And season 2 will cover
the
4 Andor will
takeover
cover
of Lothal. Wait, yeah.
season 2 of Andor is going to take between 4 to 1 BBY. So there is room there. There's wiggle room for
No,
a Thrawn appearance.
I see what you're seeing. Only the start of
all
the
it was.
takeover of Lothal. Like, click
Oh,
on
that
that.
was a takeover,
Just
yeah.
click on the link. Click on the link.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
No.
We've
He's
made
like,
our
you proved me
points.
wrong.
One. All right, fine.
No, I'm not saying I was right or wrong. I'm just telling you what the fuck I saw.
I was like confused. I'm like, was this going on during the prequels? What's going on here?
Luke wasn't even alive in 19
like I'm pretty sure he was a fucking Padawan youngling during the fucking Order 66. So how is Kanan a full adult if it happened 19 years ago?
I don't know. I was just reading what I saw, but
Like, yeah, I know I'm casual, but goddamn, I'm not that bad.
Star Wars only is the type of dude to read the headline on Twitter, not
Yeah.
read the actual article and make a complete
Exactly.
consensus out
Exactly.
of it.
But
Isn't that
I mean,
what they've
again,
always done?
I am going down a rabbit hole, and it's probably not going to happen. But because they're not going to use the books, right? We've established already over and over again that they're just not going to stick with it. However, technically, if season 2 is between 4 and 1 BBY, Thrawn is still there. They're still in the early 2 years of season 2. He's technically around.
Yeah, it could work. It could work. I wouldn't be against it. I think it would be kind of a shock, but my only fear with like someone like Tony Gilroy is he actually knows what he's doing. So I think anything he tries to interfere with other people's work, he's going to one up them in a very big way, and they're not going to like that. But is that I think that's all I really have to say about Andor. You guys got any other final remarks you want to say about it before we move on to the next topic?
It's a 10 out of 10 for me. I have literally zero issues with it. It's just beautifully made. I mean, it is Star Wars at its
we
best.
Should give it ratings.
It's television at its peak. I mean, I really don't know what else to say.
I think it's a 10 out of 10 as well.
Show.
It is the best probably Star Wars show that they've made. It's weird for me to compare
easily.
it to like
I mean,
Mando's season 1 and 2.
Not even close.
But I love what they do because they capture that Western feel of Star Wars and add to like Mando's season 1 and 2 is really fun, and you really feel like you're watching the Star Wars that you knew with the original trilogy. But Andor takes it in a very unique path that is better made, better written, but maybe not as equally enjoyable. I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to split
I know what you
hairs
mean.
here.
The rewatchability of Andor for a lot of Star Wars fans is on the lower end scale. But it's like, okay, like I like what you bring with Mando. Like I really enjoyed Ahsoka, right? But if I were to say Ahsoka is better than Andor, I'd be crazy. Like it's
That's
just
true.
it's incomparable. Like we can enjoy something more just based on personal subjective bias, which Ahsoka
Yeah,
did.
there is a difference. I will say this because we've talked about this before too. There is a big difference between saying how much you enjoyed something and how well structurally and
how
written
good it
something
is, right? Is
Mhm.
it good or
Right.
bad?
Right. Because like I said, I've talked about it before. There's plenty of Oscar classic movies out there that are just so well written that I can't fucking stand. But it's just because it's not doesn't mean it's bad. It's just not I don't like it. You know,
Yeah,
and
it's not your
there's a
palate.
lot of trash I like that is certifiable trash, but I like it. You know, so
So tens across the board, Lunga.
I give it a
yeah, I
10
would
out of
say
10.
I'm right there. It's just
It's hard to give
I
something a
always
10,
hesitate. Yeah, because it sets a bar, right?
10, it's this. I mean,
And now,
Yeah.
because now if you give this a 10, it's like, okay, how many things that are better than this now that I have to give a 10 to? And that's, that's why I hesitate.
With Star
with a
Wars, it's
10.
not so limiting though, because I feel like in Star Wars, true tens are Andor, A New Hope,
Well,
Empire Strikes Back, and I would like to throw in Return of the Jedi, but the Ewoks and
Get
stuff
the hell outta
bring
here.
it
What are you-
down. Bring.
dude, are you
I said,
serious?
listen to the words that are
Good
coming out of my
Lord.
mouth. I said I would like to. I would like
that's-
to.
you know
but I
what?
can't.
I am not going to sit here and take this Return of the Jedi hate when you had the amazing scenes between Luke and Vader in that movie. Shut the
Pretty
fuck up.
much
Okay,
it
okay,
encompasses
hold
all
on,
the bad.
Hold on. A great scene, one of the best scenes in Star Wars, one of the most moving scenes in Star Wars, right? Changing the status quo of Star Wars and that entire story. Phenomenal. That's 5% of the movie.
And
The
that
movie has-
5% overshadows the 30% of the
Oh yeah,
Ewoks
this
and
whole
everything.
movie
Andor.
might be a complete mess from start to the last 95%.
Luke showing up at Jabba's palace, fucking spectacular. I don't care. I don't
Cool,
care
no, it doesn't
if he
fucking
missed
make
that.
sense.
I don't care if he missed that kick on the
was a
sail
force
bars.
kick.
Made no sense.
It was a force
Okay.
kick. What are you talking about? Nothing to complain
Okay,
about.
it was great.
Force kick
It was
the problem.
great. Leia being there, like just the whole premise of that movie starting with a time skip, and Lando being in the palace, Leia being in the palace, fucking Chewie being there, and fucking 3PO, and
fun.
then Luke shows up. That
It's
was
fun.
good, man. That was
It
fucking great. It
makes
wasn't just
no
fun. That was fucking That was fucking
there
awesome.
Plan. Why didn't Luke have his lightsaber with it? What was the plan here? Honest to God.
He might have been searched for weapons. That's why.
Yeah, he
That's
was sneaking
and right. And they knew they were probably going to get caught in the barge. That's why R2 was hiding it. Come on, man, have an imagination.
It didn't matter because he just force choked the freaking.
Why?
Valerian
Because they
guard.
didn't have magical transportation powers for a fucking lightsaber just to appear behind your back. That's why.
Yeah, well, if Luke wasn't such a bitch boy, he may have had a woman in his life. But here we are.
Oh.
He did!
Oh.
Motherfucking Jade! God damn it! Okay? He had Mara Jade, and he had the actual fucking child that was named fucking Ben. Okay? It was his child, not Han and Leia's.
All right, he had a hottie. All right, fine.
You use not canon
Fine.
anymore. Londa.
Whatever, you win.
Now his wife is some dead lady on Octu.
You went down the wrong road with that one, buddy.
Yeah,
Alright.
I stand by my case. Return of the Jedi is just not a good movie. I'm
All right.
sorry.
Well, at least we all know Andor is a 10 out of 10. A New Hope 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Empire Strikes 10 out of 10. Everything else
Here.
is kind of hard to give a 10. out of 10
9.9 is what I'll
for,
give
for
it.
Return of
Just
the Jedi.
because.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any
Absolutely.
No. For Andor. Only be
Oh,
here.
okay.
Out of every first of all, out of all Disney stuff made, 10 plus. Yes, definitely. Out of the entire Star Wars universe of movies and television, 9.9.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm going to stick with the 10 out of 10 because I do think it's so perfect. But let's move on to our
30 years to watch. But...
Yeah, well, what do they say about the early bird? I don't give a fuck because I'm not a bird. All right. So I got the worm eventually. The turtle won the race in the end, right?
Fair enough.
Let's move on to our next segment and last segment of the show. This week in Star Wars Twitter. this week in Star Wars Twitter, we got 2 tweets that we're going to look at today. First one is tying into today's topic. It is, what was your initial reaction after watching Rogue One for the first time? I can remember young only, back in 2016, sitting in the theater, the fan premiere day or whatever the hell, and it was the same theater that I think I watched. Oh wait, no, that was Last Jedi. Last Jedi came next. Sorry. So yeah, I saw this movie in the same theater I watched The Last Jedi, but Last Jedi came out a year later. But the energy was great. It was electric. Everyone was excited to see this movie, and watching it, I felt so happy. Like I was so happy with the ending and the excitement. It felt like a blockbuster-esque Star Wars movie, and I loved it for it. That like my initial reaction to Rogue One was very, very positive, and I feel like that was for a lot of people. Longa, what was your initial reaction to Rogue One?
Reminding me of the timeline. Rogue One came out before Last Jedi, right? It was after
the Force Awakens.
After the Force Awakens. Before, yes. With what I saw, the Force Awakens, and while yes, we like, okay, it's gonna rehash New Hope, but we were happy, right? Most Star Wars fans were generally happy. And then Rogue One came out, and I'm like, we are on a good track. And I'm like, oh, and when it's a Star Wars story, I'm like, oh, we're gonna get these other stuff. And immediately I go, we're gonna get a Solo movie, right? People wanted to hear about Solo. Oh, that's gonna come. We're gonna get these stories about other things, this ancillary stories. This is gonna be fucking great. I was stoked. And yeah, the member berries in that movie sucked me in too. They did. I'm like, oh, I was cheering, just like I was like Palpa memes when he saw Hayden again. That's what I was.
Rogue One. Well, this is going to get really depressing really quick because
God damn it, here we fucking go.
Fuck you, just let me talk, all right? The moment after we got out of the theater, my phone goes off and I get a news notification. Carrie Fisher has been submitted to a hospital and is on critical health. Yeah, that was
okay. Come on, that's what you're gonna go with.
Your initial reaction to Rogue One.
No, my father died in May. Am I gonna hate May 4th for the rest of my life?
I'm building a plot here. I'm building an arc here. All right.
Oh, here we go.
Well, Rogue One, it kept me like, wow, that was very powerful because we just saw Leia in it. I know it wasn't Carrie Fisher and all that. No, my reaction to Rogue One, I'm so nostalgic for it. I was 16. I don't even know if I'd gotten my car yet. Fuck, I don't think I got my car yet. Anyways, I loved it. And as Lunga said, we were kind of riding off that ride and hype of Force Awakens, which we can look back now and say, oh, it's this and that. But Rogue One, we were 2 for 2. Like we were in the NBA finals and we're 2-0 right now. Like, okay, we might have a chance here, and then we blew a 2-0 lead, right? That's what happened after the fact.
Well, with 2 and 3.
Yeah, we pulled a Thunder. Thunder blew a 3-0 lead to the Warriors. But the worst part about that was Kevin Durant fucking left to join the Warriors. That's how it felt going from Rogue One to Last Jedi, and then here we are now years later. But right after, I couldn't have been more happy to be a Star Wars fan. I remember in specific, I had just ordered the Obi-Wan book, the novel, because I had it as a kid, I think, and I couldn't find the copy. So I ordered it again and wanted to read it. It was a phenomenal time to be a Star Wars fan. It was easily one of the best times to be a fan. Just everyone was happy.
It was a great time before the dark times, before the Johnson,
before Kevin Durant left to join the Warriors. That's how it felt.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
All right. Well, our second tweet for this week on Star Wars Twitter is little member berries, even further back than Rogue One. Today, Star Wars Battlefront 2 was released 18 years ago. I think it came on the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox, not the Xbox 360, but the original Xbox.
Yeah, just the Xbox. No, it was the 360 as well.
What a time!
Yeah.
You guys, you remember Battlefront 2? I love to remember Battlefront 2. Battlefront 2, not the EA one, I think is so great. And you know what? Now that you're here, Palpa Memes, and we're in this open setting called a podcast, I think we should have a debate one day. For one episode, we should have a debate between which one was better, EA Battlefront 2 or the other Battlefront 2.
Oh, we're talking video games.
Stomp you. I will curb
I'll
stomp
go,
you.
Lunga, if you want me to go. I have so much to say right now.
Oh no, we can't have this.
Oh
debate this
yeah,
episode.
100% go, because I have nothing to say about this. This is like
hang
you
on,
when
hang
we
on.
talked about Thrawn.
You didn't play Battlefront 2 in 2005, Lunga? 18 years ago?
No.
What the fuck is...
All right, now I'm on only side somehow. What the fuck, man?
How?
Have
How do
fun
you
with
miss
it.
this
What?
gem of a Star Wars? You know what? I think Palpatine's because he's unbiased on these video game things. I think he has to be the mediator in this debate
The
that we'll have one
commentator,
show.
the ref. Yeah.
Yeah, he has to pick
No,
who
I know
wins
I'll
at the
win.
end.
I know I'll win. I have the stats. I have the
can.
numbers. I have my facts in check.
Oh
Battlefront
yeah,
2
facts. Fact 1, EA sucks. Fact 2,
That's true. Dice is good though, and that's the
you
story
already
of Battlefront
lost.
2.
It says
You know what I was
EA
playing in 2005 Star Wars only?
with your dick.
I was playing Civilization 4. You know the game you were playing yesterday?
It was
I was playing that in
Civilization 5.
2005. Well, it's jeez. And Guitar Hero. That's what I was playing.
Played
Okay.
that too. Yeah.
I miss
Oh
it.
yeah, Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas. Yes, I did look up games that came out in 2005. God of War came out in 2005. Yes, there was lots of good games that were like Prince of Persia. Oh my God, I can't remember it.
But
Missed
not
5.
Battlefront 2. Fuck out of here.
Come on, man.
All right. Well,
WWE
Palpatine-
SmackDown versus
yeah.
Raw. I mean, come on.
That was a good time. I miss those WWE games. But Palpatine's looking back 18 years ago when you were you live in 2005? No, I'm playing.
I don't look it, but yes. I was 5 years old.
Despite being a simp for the fucking overlords at EA and DICE, what did you think about the original Battlefront?
I got such a special relationship with that game. That was the game that because I had played. I grew up on Star Wars games. I remember the Obi-Wan game for just the Xbox. I had everything. Battlefront 2. Well, let me start with Battlefront 2005, the original. I started out with that, and that was the game that me and my brother kind of bonded over, if you want to call that, because we always played the multiplayer together. And I will never forget being at my great grandma's house. I had no idea Battlefront 2 was even a thing. It was even coming out, and my dad handed me this case. I open up the present. It's Christmas Eve, and there it fucking is Battlefront 2, and I'm just like, they made a second one? No way. No way they made a second one. That's insane. That was so special. I love the game. I picked it back up again when I was 14, 15, once Star Wars started coming back again, and Battlefront 2, the classic with mods on the PC, I played the shit out of that. I had so many hours on that, and it was so much fun. I have another special relationship with it because of the DICE one in 2017. I know we're talking about 2005, but it's nice that kind of throughout my life, Battlefront has had such an important impact on my life ever since I was a young kid to even now being a grown adult. I love the game. It's just one of the best Star Wars games and set such a great foundation and premise for how Star Wars games should be. It was amazing.
It was quite the time to be alive, and Lunga completely missed out on it for some reason. But it's all good in the hood. He'll be there for Battlefront 3. We'll make sure EA sponsors him and sends him a review copy that he'll never play.
If they give me the review copy, sure. I mean, here's the thing. Jedi Fallen Order, I never finished it.
Because you suck at
What?
it, maybe? I mean, what?
Because I suck at it. Not because I didn't like it. I loved it.
You can't.
I loved it.
Turn it on story mode. You can't die.
I can't. I cannot. Listen, I am not accepting of the fact that at being almost 50, my manual dexterity, my eyesight's not there anymore, okay? I can't accept that fact and put it on easy mode. I just can't do it.
You can't
I
die.
love
I didn't even do it on high. I did it like the middle. Like, I always pick the middle mode when I play these games. I always pick the middle one. If I can't do it on the middle mode, I can't play it. No.
Just finish it. Just turn it on story mode. You literally
It
cannot die.
is too hard for me. And it's not, again, I reiterate, it's not because I think the game is bad. No, man, that thing going down that fucking slide, you got to do this fucking swinging where you're going down that. Oh my fucking God.
It can be
Fuck that game.
For sure. It can be complicated, but it is nice that you're having a boomer moment this episode because I feel like the past couple months.
That is not a boomer moment.
Okay.
That is not a boomer moment.
That's a boomer
Boomers
moment.
don't understand things. I understand it. I just do not have the faculties to do it anymore. That's the problem.
Okay, yeah.
The chat agrees. I'm sorry.
Chat has
Okay.
spoken.
Here, listen. If you take Joe Montana, greatest quarterback one of the greatest quarterbacks that ever lived, he can't throw a touchdown pass now. Does that mean he's a boomer? He doesn't understand football? No, he just can't do it anymore. Okay.
Well, it's sus because you didn't even play one of the greatest Star Wars games back in 2005. So I question your abilities right now.
Because it sucked.
What? What
Listen,
sucks?
there were games with much better graphics in 2005 than Battlefront 2. Sorry.
Sure, but gameplay overrides graphics.
Not always. Not if it's just got to hold my.
And that's
exactly
exactly why the original Battlefront 2 is better than EA.
And I will argue that God of War graphics and gameplay were superior.
Fair enough.
Maybe. Did it win Game of the Year like Battlefront 2 did? Probably. I don't know.
It won Game of the Year because Star Wars fans didn't hate the entire Star Wars universe back then. So that's why.
Yeah, it was a great time. We got Revenge of the Sith and Battlefront 2.
Revenge of the Sith hadn't come out yet. Because it came out in 2000. Fuck, what day did it come out?
Revenge of the Sith came out in 2005.
No,
I'll give you another example. KOTOR. I love the story and all the story and lore that came out of KOTOR. The game.
You tell me you can't play it.
November. Okay, October.
Dude, it's like playing 3D Pitfall. It's fucking horrible.
It is a little boring at times. I remember playing it being like, God damn, is this it? But the story's amazing. But that's all we got for this week on Star Wars Twitter. That's all we got for the show this week. We're at 500 subs. Thank you guys very much. Next week, make sure to tune in next Wednesday night at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time and Central at 8:30. We're going to be covering the South Park episode of Disney Star Wars and doing a full, beautiful long episode of Chatooine on that. So tune in for next week's episodes. Thank you guys so much for tuning in for today's episode. We'll see you all next time, and may the Force be with you always.
What?